Welcome back to Read This Next with Laura and Nicole from the Thunder Bay Public Library. This week we are doing a favorite genre of mine, which is epic fantasy.
Yeah, not a favorite genre of mine, but that means that the one I recommend, it has to be like really, really good because I've got
Yeah.
very high standards.
And
For
that
epic
means
fantasy.
something for you is something of your favorite genre will be coming up next.
Ooh, yes, that's also true. That's also true. You're gonna start us off this time?
Yes, I will. Okay, so the first one is The Gilded Ones, which is a series apparently. And this is a very new book by Namina Forna, who's actually a West African American author. Okay, first of all, we've acknowledged this before we even started. The cover is gorgeous.
It's really is.
Stunning.
Yes.
And the little tagline on it says, "Outcasts by blood, warriors by choice," which is amazing as well. Okay. 16-year-old Dika lives in fear and anticipation of the blood ceremony that will determine whether she will become a member of her village. Already different from everyone else because of her unnatural intuition, Dika prays for red blood so that she can feel like she finally belongs. But on the day of the ceremony, her blood runs gold, the color of impurity. And Deacon knows she will face a consequence worse than death. Then a mysterious woman comes to her with a choice: stay in the village and submit to her fate, or leave to fight for the emperor in an army of girls just like her. I mean, I know which one I would choose.
Sure.
They are called Alaki, near immortals with rare gifts, and they're the only ones who can stop the Empire's greatest threat. Knowing the dangers that lie ahead, yet yearning for acceptance, Dika decides to leave the only life she's ever known. But as she journeys to the capital to train for the biggest battle of her life, she will discover that the great walled city holds many surprises. Nothing and no one are quite what they seem to be, not even Dika herself.
Sure.
That sounds really good.
It does. A few things. One,
Yes.
interesting that gold is the color of impurity.
Yeah, like usually that's like the color of the gods, like
yes.
Icor or Icor. Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe that's just what her town says because they feel bad that they don't all have gold blood because clearly it makes you special.
That's true.
Yes. And then also, I never would have thought of it exactly, but intuition would be a very helpful superpower to have in battle.
Absolutely. You remember? Did you see Deadpool?
Sure did.
You remember? What's her name? I wanted
Domino?
to say, yeah, Domino. That's pretty much what it was. She's just like, I get lucky, and you're
She's
like,
lucky.
wow,
yeah,
that would be so cool. But being more aware of it would be even better.
Yeah, to be like, oh, so should we have the battle in the morning or in the afternoon? Be like, well, my intuition tells me this would be better. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that it's an all-girl gang. Love that. Love it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Girl gang, always a good time.
Girl gang.
Usually. Definitely. Okay. Our next one is an older book. And it's a book that was made into an adaptation a year ago. And they're already filming the second season. We are talking about The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski, Polish author, and it is in translation, the ones that we can read. It's a whole series, quite a long one, I understand, but the very first one is 0.5 for some reason instead of book one. So I have to assume maybe he wrote this one later as like an entry piece.
I don't know, because when I was looking up what order do you read them in, no one said like, oh, you need to read it out of order, but because this is like the prequel, it was just like, this is the first one. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay. 0.5. All right. It's called The Last Wish. And here's the description. Geralt the Witcher, revered and hated, is a man whose magic powers, enhanced by long training... For some reason, I thought I was going to say enhanced by long hair. Just for like no reason.
He's not just that. Like Samson and Delilah. He's like, it's my long hair.
No, it's not that though. It's the training. And a mysterious elixir have made him a brilliant fighter and a merciless assassin. Yet he is no ordinary murderer. His targets are the multifarious monsters and vile fiends that ravage the land and attack the innocent. But not everything monstrous looking is evil, and not everything fair is good. And in every fairy tale, there is a grain of truth.
Gotta love The Witcher. The TV show, amazing. I love Henry Cavill. He's so great.
It was a very good show. It felt very like it was super propulsive. Like you just wanted to keep watching.
And was this okay? So I'm pretty sure the order that these things came out was weird. Was it a video game, then a book, then a TV show?
I think it was maybe. Oh, I don't know for sure.
I'm gonna Google it while you're talking.
Google it. I think maybe it was a book, but it was just not very well known. And then it was the video game that made it kind of become a bestseller. Maybe
that could be.
Maybe something like that. Yeah, I know it's been around for some time. The show is really great. The worst thing about that show is his wig. It's bad.
It's bad, but like I kind of like it.
I mean, I like the idea of it, but like in practice, you look at it and you're like, why is that wig so thirsty? It just looks like it needs a deep condition. And then he gets in a bathtub and it's like, now's the time. Doesn't happen.
Wash it up. And it just doesn't happen. And you're like,
doesn't happen.
Still grimy. Like, and we even had another beautiful high fantasy, which we're not talking about, but like Game of Thrones. Daenerys's white hair was absolutely stunning. And now we have Geralt's hair. Like,
I feel like enough people made a fuss about that, though, that in season 2, his hair will be better.
I hope so.
Suspect.
He deserves better. Apparently, he loved the like Henry Cavill was so obsessed with the video games. Like he's a huge gamer nerd. Apparently,
he is a huge nerd. Yeah,
right. And he was just like, I have to play Geralt of Rivia. He's like, it's my part, and I will have it. And then they picked him, and he was like, which I think is really cute. So I did my research. The Witcher started off as short stories, which is why it's 0.5, because he had like a bunch of short stories and then compiled them all into The Last Wish. So I think the first one was called The Last Wish, and then he also called the first like chunk of short stories The Last Wish.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, and then it was turned into books, and then it was turned into graphic novels, and then a TV show, as well as comics.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so a bunch of stuff. Obviously, a property that has lots of scope for imagination.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's good stuff. The next one is by Patrick Rothfuss, and it's called The Name of the Wind, and it's in the King Killer Chronicles. Told in Kvoth's own voice, this is the tale of the magically gifted young man who grows to be the most notorious wizard his world has ever seen. The intimate narrative of his childhood in a troupe of traveling players, his years spent in a near-feral orphan in a crime-ridden city, his daringly brazen yet successful bid to enter a legendary school of magic, and his life as a fugitive after the murder of a king from a gripping coming-of-age story unrivaled in recent literature. A bold claim! A high-action story written with a poet's hand, The Name of the Wind is a masterpiece that will transport readers into the body and mind of a wizard.
This is like a huge title. If you're an epic fantasy person, our first couple ones were kind of hitting ones these two are kind of ones you probably know about, but they're known for a reason. This is supposed to be fabulous. I am so sorry for all the banging happening in my household to all listeners.
Pros and cons of filming at home.
Yes. Hopefully that will soon be the last of it.
I mean, you heard a few weeks ago there's probably some like murmuring in the background of my audio. It was just my partner in the other room
Everyone's working from home.
It is what
everyone's
it is.
Around. Yes.
Yeah.
But fun wizards, right?
Wizards.
Notorious wizards, magic school.
I find a lot of times like high fantasy usually follows like fighters, not really the wizards. So it's kind of cool that we
Mm,
get a little bit of a different character.
that's a good point.
Hmm.
Okay, our next one. I think this book's just a couple of years old. I
Mm-hmm.
seem to remember it being quite recent. It's called Black Leopard, Red Wolf. It's the book one in the Dark Star trilogy by Morland James, who's a Jamaican author. This one actually I think might even be on my list of to reads.
I think it was. There was a few of these that were actually on your list, and I was like, "Oh, someone doesn't like fantasy," she says.
I'm not, it's not my first pick. That's all I'm saying. Okay, in this novel, myth, fantasy, and history come together to explore what happens when a mercenary is hired to find a missing child. We all know about this. We watched The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and The Witcher. That's everyone's favorite genre, is just hot dudes finding and saving children. Or like,
what's not to like about that?
Yeah.
It's a great story. Anyway, okay, so we're simplifying, but here's what the book's about. Tracker is known far and wide for his skills as a hunter. He has a nose, people say. Engaged to track down a mysterious boy who disappeared 3 years earlier, Tracker breaks his own rule of always working alone when he finds himself part of a group that comes together to search for the boy. The band is a hodgepodge full of unusual characters with secrets of their own, including a shape-shifting man-animal known as Leopard. Ooh. Drawing from African history and mythology and his own rich imagination, Marlon James has written an adventure that's also an ambitious, involving read. Define categorization, and full of unforgettable characters. There we go.
You just combined
Black Leopard. I did. Black Leopard, Red Wolf explores the fundamentals of truth, the limits of power, the excesses of ambition, and our need to understand them all.
Another really intriguing read. Like, I love that there's a man animal. I love it that it's worded shape-shifting man animal. So is he like constantly shape-shifting, or is he like, like a werewolf is like either a wolf or a man? This is like, he's a man animal. I'm like,
so does he have
Yeah, I'm imagining spots? A man that's a leopard. Like,
I don't know.
Very curious.
I don't know. You'd have to read and find out.
I'm gonna have to. Sounds good. And I also love when they never want to work with other people, and then they do.
I know. I was gonna say that's it. Honestly, I might have added it for the hodgepodge band of people. I love if it turns into sort of like a found family thing, like, yes. Oh, we're all broken people, but together we're whole. That's sort of corny.
That's so family. And then they have to find their son. It's not actually their son, but it's their son.
I mean, it could be somebody's son that's part of the band. Who knows?
We'll find out.
We'd find out.
We really should do like an episode where we recap like any of the books that we've read from these. I think that'd be maybe on our 50th. Ooh.
Oh, that's a good idea.
We're getting close to our 50th. I don't know if you knew that.
That is crazy. I knew we had to be sooner or later.
I think this is 42. Sorry.
Wow. So what we're saying, people, is there's a huge backlist of our episodes you can dig into.
Yeah, go check
enjoy
them
those.
Out.
Just look at all the list of themes and whatever interests you, jump in. Anyway, let's carry on.
Okay, we'll carry on then. Our
next we plug ourselves in the middle of things.
Yeah, watch our stuff while you're watching our stuff, and then go listen to our stuff while you watch our stuff.
Yes, all of our stuff, the whole thing.
There, it exists. Okay, our next one is The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, and it's part of the Farseer trilogy. I had to check. This is a female author. Which I for some reason, all the big names in my mind were like male authors for fantasy, which wasn't the case when I actually started looking, which was cool. Okay. In a faraway land where members of the royal family are named for the virtues they embody, one young boy will become a walking enigma. Born on the wrong side of the sheets.
That's a good way to put it.
Yep. Fitz, son of chivalry farseer, is a royal bastard cut out into the world friendless and lonely. Only his magical link with animals, the old art known as the wit, gives him solace and companionship. But the wit, if used too often, is a perilous magic and one abhorred by the nobility. So when Fitz is finally adopted into the royal household, he must give up his old ways and embrace a new life of weaponry, scribing, courtly manners, and how to kill a man secretly as he trains to become a royal assassin.
That sounds so much less fun than hanging out talking to animals.
Yeah. Unless, well, I mean, the combo. He's like, I'm a deer, and I'm assuming, I don't know why I'm assuming that
Good
he like
point.
goes into the mind of them and it's just like, hey, you want to go kill that man? Like, that'd be cool.
Maybe he'll
that's,
get there.
that's probably not what they meant, but that sounds really good. That's actually, so I'll talk about it later in my rec, but it reminds me of a book.
Okay, of course it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like maybe that's a bad trade though. I would keep the first part, the being able to
Yeah.
communicate with animals.
Yeah, like the people the animals that like make you feel happy instead of your family that like ditched you.
Yeah.
And now they just want you to kill people?
I also like the being named after
Your virtue?
your virtues. One moment. Hey, I am recording.
Oh, sorry.
It's not just a meeting. Thanks.
He's like, wow,
I
that
know,
meeting
sorry.
sounds so fun. Love it.
Okay. The other thing about that book that the characters are named after the virtues they embody. So what would be your name if you were named after the virtue you embody?
I don't know, but I know who our coworkers would be. Her name's Patience. I don't know what mine would be. I don't. What are the virtues? Well,
I
isn't there
don't
like
know.
7 virtues? Like,
I
do they have to pick one?
Virtuous. And then like what if you get older and then it doesn't fit anymore?
I
Then
guess.
what do you do?
Yeah, I guess you just have a name like that doesn't fit you at all,
I guess so.
or they
Chivalry.
just think that you have that quality. Maybe that's why they do it. They want you to think that they have that quality.
That's actually kind of smart. That's like think it till you make it.
We do that a
Self-fulfilling
lot.
prophecy. Yeah, we do that a lot. We do that a lot. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, what's our next one? Okay, this cover is very
Stylish.
interesting. Yes, that's a good word for it. It doesn't look like there's kind of a stereotype, I think, of fantasy covers, and it doesn't look like that to me.
I agree.
Okay. So this title is called The Empress of Salt and Fortune. It's book 1 in the Singing Hills cycle, and it's by Ni Vo, who is an Asian American. This one, the description, I'm assuming it's referencing Margaret Atwood, which is kind of exciting. So it says, with the heart of an Atwood tale and the visuals of a classic Asian period drama, The Empress of Salt and Fortune is a tightly and lushly written narrative about empire, storytelling, and the anger of women. Tell me more.
We're in.
A young royal from the far north is sent south for a political marriage. Alone and sometimes reviled, she has only her servants on her side. This evocative debut chronicles her rise to power through the eyes of her handmaiden, at once feminist high fantasy and a thrilling indictment of monarchy.
That sounds like it's gonna be a really good read. Like, has a whole bunch of different elements. High fantasy from women's point of view.
Yes. Yeah, no, that sounds very good. I like from the perspective not only of a woman, but that sort of side perspective where it's from the handmaiden, so they see sort of, perhaps are considered less important, so they maybe overhear things or see what's going on in the background.
Yeah, and I know we've said this before, but every time for me anyway, it's a fantasy novel that's based on mythology. It has so much background information that it's so rich in detail that the book, it's 10 times better when it's based off somebody's history or their background, or they weave it in some sort of way. It's just so much cooler than, like, I love Lord of the Rings, but like Lord of the Rings, I already know what's going to happen. There's a wizard and there's a dragon. Is it? Yeah, there's a dragon in The Hobbit. Anyways, this one, I'm like, what's going to happen? And I know it's going to be cool because they didn't tell these stories for years for nothing. Ah,
Sure.
I love it. Okay.
One more highlight.
One more highlight. Okay, this one is called The Raven Tower by Anne Leckie. And I feel like the cover looks like a door knocker. Is that what it is?
Okay. I think so. Doesn't look, I mean, it's not gonna, knock your socks off, but it's okay as a cover.
Yeah. It is what it is. Okay. I'm going to skip that first paragraph. For centuries, the kingdom of Iradin has been protected by the god known as the Raven. He watches over his territory from atop a tower in the powerful port of Vastai. His will is enacted through the Raven's lease, a human ruler chosen by the god himself. His magic is sustained via the blood sacrifice that every lease must offer, and under the Raven's watch, the city flourishes. But the power of the Raven is weakening. A usurper has claimed the throne. The kingdom borders are tested by invaders who long for the prosperity that Vastai boasts, and they have made their own alliances with other gods. It is into this unrest that warrior Iolo, aide to Mawat, the true lease, arrives, and in seeking the help of Mawat, in seeking to help Mawat reclaim his city, Iolo discovers that the Raven's Tower holds a secret. Its foundations conceal a dark history that has been waiting to reveal itself, and to set in motion a chain of events that could destroy Iradin forever. Again, very cool. Can't wait.
Yes, it sounds good.
It does.
It does. And that, as an author, I feel like I don't want to say up and coming, but I think her last book series before this one was like a real hot number.
I think so. She's from what I remember looking at. I think that, okay, based on the first paragraph, it says this is her first fantasy novel, so I think the other ones were in different
Sci-fi
areas. So, yeah. All right, let's move on.
All right. We're into our recs now. Okay, so my rec is a book series from a while ago now, but I know the author has continued to write more books. But the positive thing is, since it's from a while ago, you can go and read the entire series.
Yay!
Because it's ready to go. So it's called Falling Kingdoms, and it's a 6-book series. The first book in the series is also called Falling Kingdoms.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So in the 3 kingdoms of Mythica, magic has long been forgotten. And while hard-won peace has reigned for centuries, a deadly unrest now simmers below the surface. I was going to say settles, but no, the point is it's unsettled. Simmers below the surface. As the rulers of each kingdom grapple for power, the lives of their subjects are brutally transformed, and 4 key players, royals and rebels alike, find their fates forever intertwined. Cleo, Jonas, Lucia, and Magnus are caught in a dizzying world of treacherous betrayals, shocking murders, secret alliances, and even unforeseen love. The only outcome that's certain is that kingdoms will fall. Who will emerge triumphant? And then it has like a little description of each of them. There's a princess, a rebel, a sorceress, and the heir, aggressive Magnus. Anyway, and it follows those different characters. It's one of those books, and we didn't even talk about whether or not this takes place in the other books, because one of the things with ebooks, I don't know how they handle it. This is a book I read in print. It's got a map in the front.
Yes.
I always like a map in fantasy.
Me too. You know it's going to be a good fantasy when it has a map and a list of words in another language. You're like, oh, this is good.
A map. You know what? Sometimes I like a family tree.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sure. Cast of characters. All right.
What?
Yeah.
Like, spoiler alert.
Yes, I remember there being a map, and there's a lot of like really like clearly explained like moving around places, so you can actually look at the map and track like what the characters, where they are going. Yeah, it's good. It's quite good. And yeah, kind of 6 books. Obviously, there's certain things that are introduced, and then they, come to terms or finish exploring that, and then it just keeps going for 6 books. It's very cool. Also fun. After this 6-book series, the author wrote I think just 3-book trilogy that is like, it's a portal book from our world into that fantasy world that she created for this series.
Oh, oh. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like two series that she like crossed over, or it's like,
Yeah, basically.
wow,
She
that sounds
crossed
good.
over the real world into her own fantasy series.
I mean,
Why
that's
not?
cool.
You're an author, do what you want, man.
And she's like, I
It's
want
an
to
interesting
exist in
idea.
this world, and so does everybody else. So let's make it happen.
Let's
She
make let's
fanficked her own books.
She did. She did.
Smart lady. She's like, I know what the people want. They want to cross over.
Yes, a crossover. Yeah. So this, if you enjoy this series, then you can keep going, spend more time in that world.
That's
Yeah. Did I say
cool.
the author's name? I feel like I'm not sure I
I don't
did
know.
even. I said the title. It's the author's name is Morgan Rhodes.
I'm
Just
not sure
to
why Goodreads lists
make sure I
Michelle
get that
Rowan.
in. I think she has that's a pen name, or one
I
of them is
see.
a pen name. I think she writes under both names.
Okay, because when I just clicked on it, it says author of Vampire Academy, Dark Kiss, and Bitten and Smitten. But
I think
Vampire Academy is Rachel Mead.
that I don't know. I on the book it does say Morgan Road, so maybe they just mucked up something. Maybe they,
Regardless.
regardless. And she's Canadian.
Ooh, even better.
So there you go.
Love it. Okay, this Tamora Pierce is my recommendation for high fantasy. I don't think I have wrecked her yet.
I don't think you have either.
Yeah, okay, I was saving it apparently. Her entire there's like two things in her catalog. Basically, there's like the Circle Open series, which is more magic based, which is really good. But I specifically want to recommend her other world, which is the world of Tortau. I could be pronouncing that wrong, but it's fantasy. I'll pronounce it however I want.
Sure.
And the first book in the series is called Alana the First Adventure, and she has 4 books. So it's a bunch of like quartets that are all in the same world, which for me is like, if you can't get enough of a world, this is the
Sure.
books for you, because it's going to throw you in there and you're not going to be able to escape until like 20 books later. It's great. So basically, I'll just describe Alana the First Adventure. So basically, Alana is a girl, and she has a brother named Alan, and he wants to become a wizard, and she wants to go fight. There's no fight. It's kind of like medieval, but there's also like magical creatures. And
Sure.
yeah, so she wants to become a knight, and her brother wants to become a wizard, and they are not allowed to do either of them, so they swap places. And she becomes Alan, and he becomes Alana. And you follow her journey into becoming a knight. And, there's all these little, like, she can't get caught, like, how's she gonna bathe? It's, how's she gonna hide that she's not growing very tall? And it's really good. And that first series is all about her and like her meeting people and them discovering who she is and whether or not they accept her and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another quartet that's about another girl named, I think it's Diane, could be Dane. And she's able to see into the minds of animals. And she like,
Oh,
I vividly remember an episode, a chapter where she goes into a squirrel's brain, and he's like, "You just have to hang on for a second. Like, trust me, we're not gonna die." And then he jumps off a tree, just like how squirrels do, and he lands
yeah.
on the other tree, and she's like freaking out inside of it. So it's really good. They fight evil. They fight with magic. There's metal creatures that come like carrion birds, but they're like made of metal. And there's wizards. And I feel like I'm not describing it very well, but this series, it holds a special place in my heart. I have almost all the books, and yeah, yeah. It's so great. And it's like we talked about before, it has the characters pop up in everybody else's
Which is
series.
fun. We like that. Yeah.
Yeah. go check out Tamora Pierce and everything she has to offer. I know for a fact we have her Alana series, but it's actually a grouping of all 4 of them. So
Okay.
I think it's called Song of the Lioness, which is a
Sounds.
series.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, go take a look at her stuff, fall in love, tell me that you read them so we can talk about them, because she's my favorite author. I know I talk a lot about Kelly Armstrong, but Tamora
That's true.
Pierce is
You
my
can have
fave.
more than one favorite.
Yeah, but Tamora Pierce is like just a little higher. But yeah, she's a YA author primarily, and she's incredible. Incredible. So much detail. I can't say enough about her. Like,
So basically, if you're interested at all in like epic fantasy, female-centered stories, right? There has to be
always.
some interesting sort of gender politics happening if
Yep.
she's pretending to have to be a dude. Adventure stories.
Yeah, it's got like
Yeah.
the court intrigue and things like that.
Sure.
And there's ones that have like assassination like themes, and like just there's one that follows a magician, like not a magician, a wizard. Like, you're gonna find, if you don't like one of her series, go to the next one. Skip it. You don't have to have read the previous ones. It's totally cool if you don't.
You can just dip in and out.
Yeah, dip in and out. And I think what I like the best about them is that all the women are incredibly different. It's not like Alana is this, I'm becoming a knight, and then everyone else is like, I'm strong too. They're like sensitive, and then they're like heroes, and then they're like, they got magic powers. It's just really cool. So, and if you don't like that kind of medieval style court stuff, go check out her Circle of Magic series, which is just as good.
Well, there you go. We've come to an end of the show with a huge, a massive recommendation, personal recommendation.
It's a big series. It's a big series. I gotta say, there's like 20 books in it. But anyways, that's the end of the episode. We'll see you all next week. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow us at TBPL across the board. Our show notes are www.tbplofftheshelf.com, and email us, follow us on Goodreads, and we will see you all next week. Bye-bye.